your purity walk or your abstinence walk is just, I'm just saying to myself, look at it as how it's also preparing you for so many other things. Because if you can be disciplined, if you can discipline yourself with your sexuality, you should be able to discipline yourself with your mouth. You should be able to discipline yourself with your finances. You should be able to discipline yourself in your emotions. It's not just about sex. It's not just about that, right? But and that's a natural part of us, that it's innate, right? So don't just look at your purity walk as, I'm just saving myself in this area. You got to look at all the other areas that you need discipline in, right? Because when you get married, it's not just about sex. Y'all got to do your money right. Y'all got to have your, you know what I mean? There's so many other areas. And as you go through this process, you need to understand, I can't just look at it as I'm saving myself here. But I'm building discipline in each of these areas. Because it takes emotional discipline to not have sex. It takes mental discipline to not have sex. Right? So, yes, you did say some things that triggered me, and it's so important because I don't think it's a good idea to really start dating and getting these attachments in middle school and in high school and sometimes even in college. Right? Because you don't realize how immature you are until you get in certain situations where that emotion that you didn't have starts to rise up, and you start to say things and do things that you didn't even know were in you. And you're not even ready for that at a certain age. So I admonish and I encourage all of you to not just look at your purity walk as something that you're just saving yourself in this area, but look at it as how I'm disciplining myself in so many other areas, so that when I get married, I'm prepared for marriage. I'm not just prepared now to have sex. I'm prepared for marriage and everything that it entails in managing my life, managing my time, managing my money, managing my emotions, managing my relationships, managing expectations. You know what I mean? And even the ability to wait in anything. Right? We live in a culture where instant gratification is what it's about. Right? We want to have things now, right? And not think about the future. But the way that I see things is you can't avoid sacrifice. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. Either you sacrifice now and you get your reward later, or you can have your reward now and then the sacrifice comes later. But I'm going to tell you the difference in the sacrifice, right? Because the sacrifice now is a sacrifice on my terms. Come on. I get the sacrifice on my terms, and then I get the reward later. Yeah. But if I get the reward now, the sacrifice later, I don't have no control over that. Does that make sense? So you can't avoid the sacrifice, right? So how does that equate to abstinence? Right? If you want the reward of sex now, you got to think about the things that you're going to have to sacrifice later. Does that make sense? Right? Versus you saying, I'm going to sacrifice now so that my reward later is much greater than what my reward is now. Because I get my reward now, but what's the sacrifice? A broken heart. What's the sacrifice? Another relationship that didn't work out. What's the sacrifice? An STD. What's the sacrifice? What's the sacrifice? A baby. A soul tie. What is the sacrifice? But you got your reward. But you couldn't determine what your sacrifice was. So sacrifice now. Say yes, I'm going to take a different path. I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. I'm doing the same thing. Right? And then the reward is the same. Why would I follow that path? Why wouldn't I take the path less followed? Right? So like you really have to think about that. Like so many people are getting their reward now, but in the end, when you look back and you say, I'm happily married, I waited for the right person, I'm in a flourishing relationship, and then versus someone else, and they may be okay with their life, but if they have multiple children by multiple different people, they're not in a committed, whatever the case may be, You gotta think for yourself, what do I want for myself? So what's my goal? So I mean, I know for me what I wanted, and I got, oh my goodness, I got to go.